was a shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place that could go home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's a magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a tailhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, everybody. My name's Henry. For those of you that don't know, for those of you that do, welcome back. Tonight's ghost story is about a little boy, and we're going to call him the Little Slugger. That's the name of the title to this story. Now, periodically, through time, you'll see a little boy fascinated with tractors. Some little boys fascinated with horses. And once in a while you come across one that's in love with the game of baseball. I don't mean these people that get paid $100,000 a year just to sit on their ass at the bench. I'm talking about the real game of baseball. Not that shit sport you see on TV. Back when baseball was baseball. Now it's just a way for a lazy ass to get out there and run some bases a few times a year, except bench the rest of the time, like old Ozzie Smith. Old Peanut Head. But anyway, go back to the early 1900s. There's a road there in a small little tiny village called Otterville, Illinois. Yep, Otterville, Illinois. Why, it's just a speck on the map to most people. But the people from that area, that's all they know. And it's their little village, quiet and quaint. Everybody know everybody. They may fight amongst themselves a little bit, but you let an outsider jump in and see what happens. They'll come together like a bunch of cats after a mouse. But other than that, that's a good little town. It's got a little church there. And at the far end of town there, it's more in that little strip, they used to have a little country store there called Sluggers. And it's just a storage shed, but it's their own little store. Now, back when I was a kid, they had a lot more stuff there. But you know how it goes. Politicians and making the rules and cutting the throats on these here little mom and pop places. They're far and few and in between now, but they're still scattered out through America. But anyway, early 1900s, this man and woman got married. Well, by all accounts, she got pregnant and they had a little boy. He was a little feller, kind of pudgy in the cheeks. Looked like one of them ground squirrels, had them big old cheeks. And he got fascinated with baseball. Now, they didn't have TV, so he didn't pick that up by watching TV. But sometimes his dad turned the radio on, and they would sit there together and listen to a ball game. Well, when that little boy got about 4 years old, he took him to the local ball field. And they sat there and watched them growing up play. And with that little boy, he watched every move they made. Well, he was hooked. Well, during one game, his dad caught a ball that was hit out of bounds out there. Well, they told him, so you keep that ball for that little boy. But that little boy, he'd keep that ball in his hand, and he'd watch that old pitcher. He'd spit on that ball. He started imitating them guys. By the time he was 5 years old, somebody had given him a ball glove. Somebody else donated a bat to him. His dad and mom took him to the local store there in Otterville that used to be right there on the corner of the four-way stop. Got him a little baseball cap. Well, it come time for a little boy to start school. Now, back at this time, it was just a one-room schoolhouse. You had the little kids, the middle kids, and the older kids all in one room. And sometimes the older kid would help the teacher with teaching the little kids. But this little boy, there wasn't nobody his age, so he was the only one in what would have been probably kindergarten or first grade. But every day, come rain or shine, he wore his ball cap to school. Of course, in the classroom, he had to take it off. But he took great care in hanging that on a hook. He'd get a little dust on it, he'd wipe her off. Sometimes he'd grab the old hairbrush made out of horsehair, and his dad used to clean his shoes, and he'd dust that hat off. You'd always see him out there putting saddle soap on his glove. He'd walk around, pound like he was catching a ball in it. He'd sniff that old glove. There ain't nothing better than the smell of leather. I kind of partial to that smell myself. And even though that ball was kind of beat up and battered from having the hell beat out of it, well, that was that little boy's prized possession. Well, one of the local woodsmen made that little boy a bat, stained it black, called Black Beauty. Sometimes you'd see him out there, pretending like the pitcher was winding up. He'd grab that bat up on his shoulder and he'd wink at him. He'd crack a little smile outside his mouth. And all of a sudden you'd see him, he'd spit, pretending like the big boys. Looking that old pitcher down like, come on, throw that slick ball. I'll make you eat it. Then all of a sudden, he'd turn loose like he was gonna knock that thing out there in the bleacher area. And he'd stop, put that bat out there, he'd bunt it. He's gonna fool them other fake players out there. Well, that boy practiced all year long. So when he'd go to school, he asked them older boys if he could just play one round. Now, you're too little. Oh, come on. No, you're too little. Go over there and sit with the girls. Well, this boy had had about enough of this. Come time for the other team got on the field, there was 3 strikes. So he ran out to the other team. Come on, let me play. No. They said, you're too little. Go back over there and sit down and watch. Well, I can throw harder. I can hit any ball they send to me. Just give me a try. Well, they was like, no, you go on out there and have a seat. You get hurt out here playing with us bigger boys. Well, he go back and sit down out there, and batter goes up to the plate, taps his bat a few times on the home plate, and I'll be damned if he didn't point that bat down there in left field. He was choosing the spot he was going to whack that ball. He gets ready and gets the bat up. Pitcher throws. Catcher wasn't paying too much attention. He watched them girls over there. He got hit in the knee. It bounced up, caught him right on the chin, hit him in the nose, broke his nose. So now they don't have a catcher. So they're looking around to see if there's anybody out there that can be their catcher. They got to improvise. That little boy is sitting out there and he's looking around. He raised his hand. They're like, are you sure you can catch? That's probably about the safest place we can put you at so you don't get trampled. That little boy, he grabbed his glove, grabbed his ball cap, and he spun that old ball cap around backwards. He squatted down there and got that old glove out there, and he was pointing which way he wanted that pitcher to throw that ball. He'd been watching those guys. He had every move down perfect. Well, the old pitcher winds up. He looks at him, and that's the pitch he's going to throw. Well, he threw the first pitch, and all of a sudden, the batter swung, missed, and all you heard was that glove hit that ball, and it closed right around that there, just like a mother's hand around a baby. But them kids was impressed. That boy didn't even shake it off, nothing. He grabbed that ball and stood up. He threw her like a pro out there, the pitcher. Pitcher catch the ball. He looked a little bit. He looked toward first base. He looked over his shoulder at third base. And he wound up and threw another one. Well, the little boy was so much trying to impress this team that he got a little too close. Well, here comes the ball toward the batter. Batter's a pretty good sized kid. He was going to put that thing out there in outfield someplace where they were never ever going to catch it. Well, he was a little bit off balance, and when he swung, he come all the way around, connected with the ball, but the boy got up too close to that glove. And when he swung, he didn't stop. It went all the way around and caught that little boy right on the side of the head. Killed him instantly. Now the schoolyard was in panic. They all rushed that little boy's side, and he was dead on impact. But he still had his little glove in his hand. His book sat over there where he'd been sitting by the girls. There was his little ball and his little bat. Well, they carried that little boy inside the school, laid him there on top of the teacher's desk, tried to attend to him. They sent for a doctor, but it was too late. Well, back in those days, a lot of people didn't have phones. So after the doctor come and pronounced him, he put the little boy on the buckboard. He took him out to the parents. Of course, the teacher went along, sent all the other kids home that day. They both was going to knock on the door and let the parents know what had happened and that they brought the son home. Well, the lady was out there hanging up clothes, and the boy's little dog heard the commotion, and he went to running and barking. The teacher and the doctor climbed off the horse and proceeded to walk around the backyard. Said, "Ma'am, we're sorry to tell you, but there was an accident today, and the little boy got killed. It was just a freak accident. Ain't nobody really at fault here. But we got him on the buckboard, and we just wanted to be the one to tell you." Well, she broke down right there, as any mama would. Well, somebody had sent for the husband to come home to console the wife. So here he come on his old plow horse, just as hard as he could run that poor thing. He flew up there in the yard and made a dive off that horse and went running around the back. He's consoling her, and they're sitting around trying to think of something to say. There ain't much you can say when something like that terrible happens. But they calmed down enough to go to the buckboard, and their little boy was covered up. So the doctor told him, he said, I'll help you get him in the house. 'Cause see, that was the thing they did back in those days. Why, they carried that little boy in the house and laid him out there on a bench, and they said if you need any help making arrangements or anything, we're more than glad to help out. He said, I think we got it from here, but thank you anyway. If we need anything, we'll let you know. So the dad, after they sat there and mourned for a while, Mom went and got some water and started washing the little boy up and getting his clothes laid out for the showing. And Dad went out back and took one of the small barn doors off and gathered up some sawhorses and brought them into the parlor. He laid that old door up there and covered it with a nice blanket. Then he proceeded to make a small pallet there, like you lay on in the floor when you're a kid. He went back there in the boy's room, got his pillow, and put a nice pillowcase on it, and covered that bedding up with a nice little blanket. He fluffed the pillow and set it down there, and they got the boy ready to be showed the following day. Dad went out there and built a nice little box coffin, laid the pallet and the little boy inside of it, set the lid to the side. Well, that night there wasn't very much sleep. So, next day, crack of dawn, all the neighbors and people show up. Friends, family. They was going to get stuff ready, help the lady get stuff ready for that little boy's showing. Well, people's cooking and cleaning and talking a little bit. They couldn't get over how much that little boy liked baseball. And there was lots of tears shed. Well, he set the coffin up there and got the little boy adjusted in there just right and buried him in his little ball outfit. They was going to give it to him for his birthday, which was in a couple weeks. Had a little number 7 on the pocket there. It was white with real fine little blue pinstripes. Had dark blue ball socks. Even had him a set of ball shoes. Not like the ones you see today. But they got him all in it, put his little ball cap on him, laid his ball and bat and glove in there, and his school book sat there beside him on a little stand. People filed through and paid respects and give the mama a hug and give the dad a hug and told him how sorry they was. Even though it wasn't nobody's fault. Tried to help him out as much as possible. It's a tough thing to bury one of your kids. Well, that afternoon come and everybody signed the books and there was flowers all over the place, wildflowers and just all kinds of stuff. Well, that night some of the family members stayed to sit up with the parents because they wasn't going to be sleeping. So they brought some chairs in there to the parlor and they going to sit there and stay with the little boy as long as they could before the next day. Well, that night passed with no sleep and no mercy. It was just a sad thing. Their only child passed away. So, people started gathering, and the husband looked at his wife and he said, "Honey, it's time." She said, "I just want to look upon him one more time. Then I want to just kiss him on the forehead, and then you can put the lid on." So the dad stood there, and the mom was weeping into her little hanky. She reached down and touched one of his little fat fingers, and she goes, "Mama will be there soon. It'll only just be a short time. You take care, be good, don't be afraid. You can always come back home." Well, she leaned down and raised that ball cap up. She put a long kiss on his forehead. She straightened up his little shirt, pulled his ball cap back down, and she walked off whimpering and told the husband to go ahead and close the box. So Dad put the lid on there, and they proceeded to take that little coffin, put it on top of a buckboard. They took it down Dabb's Road there to the cemetery. They had this big giant rock. So they had the hole dug. Preacher said a few words. Well, even some of the people in school, kids, said a couple words. Then they closed that casket one last time. They lowered it down the hole. Mom and Dad took a handful of dirt and dropped in one flower apiece. Then the mother and father kind of stepped away, and they began to fill that hole in. Well, when the grave diggers got the hole filled in, they laid a rock on top of it. Great big old rock. They got on the buckboard, and back home they went. Well, they were both pretty sad, as you may think. The mom on the way home told the husband, she says, "Is there any way we could do something? I know we don't have a lot of money, but is there any way we can take what we have scraped together and make a monument to pay tribute to our little boy?" That goes, "Whatever you say, dear." So he went home, helped her in the house, and a couple of other ladies come in to kind of be with her for a while. Well, now, the husband was trying to be as strong as he could for his wife. He got to be the rock. But he couldn't take it no more, and he retreated out to the workshop. He put the horses away and gave them some feed and water. He started in with a big old ball peen hammer, and he beat that anvil, and all you could hear was a ping, ping, and he just beat the hell out of that anvil, trying to release some of that stress and sadness. that he couldn't release in front of his wife. He had to be strong. And it wasn't he didn't love the little boy, it's just what a man does. Gotta be strong for his wife. He beat that anvil, and then all of a sudden, when he got done beating that anvil, he broke down. Well, while he's on his hands and knees, trying to figure this whole thing out and what it meant for him and his wife now. Did they try to have another kid? Did they just put all their memories into the one they had? Well, out of clear blue, it was like a lightning bolt hit him in the head. And he come up with a plan that he's going to try to do as his wife says so they can honor the son by whatever means is available. Well, he'd been working on a little chair for that little boy, because he's starting to outgrow the other one. So he found him some old hickory, and he'd been building on a chair. Well, he decided, well, maybe today's the day I finish that thing. Now, he come up with a plan right out of his head. He had every piece cut. All he had to do was start gluing it together. Well, he was so hurt that he worked through the night and most of the next day. But he got that little chair put together and glued, and beautiful little chair. But it needed something. So the dad go in the house, and he looks around and finds that little boy's books. It has a little band that goes around with a little buckle. That way you keep all them books together. So he got the strap with the books, carried them out there, and set them down on the chair. And he went back to the house, and his wife said, "What in the world are you doing?" He said, I'm having a thought. I'll show you when I'm done staying here." So all these ladies watched him run around like he's crazy. He goes and finds another the old ball cap, the old one. He takes it out there and hang it on the chair. He looks at it, and he's something still missing. Well, he comes out there with the ball glove and a bat. Puts it on there. Something still missing. So he found him an big old piece of hickory. The stump part. So he set that chair on top of that. He put a few nails in it. And you see him, he's hooking up the horses up to the buckboard. He takes off to town. See if he can find him a stonemason. Well, when he gets in there, he's standing there with his hat in his hand, waiting his turn. He goes, my son, we just buried him. He said, "Yeah, I was there, I heard. Sorry about your loss. Is there anything I can do?" He said, "Well, I'm hoping so." He said, "I made a little chair, put his hat, ball, and a glove, and his books. Is there any way we can make that word last forever?" Guy said, "I think we can come up with something." He goes, "What would something like that cost me?" He said, "Not that it matters what it costs, but no," he said, "just on the house." He said, "Well, you bring it to me if it's already put together. We'll dip that down in concrete. It'll be there forever." The guy said, "I thank you very much. You sure you don't want some of that? And he goes, no. This is something that I can do for you and your wife in memory of your son. He said, when do you want me to bring it to you? And he said, bring it by today if you want to. Do you need help loading it? He said, no, I think I can manage that. So he thanked the guy and told him he'd be back shortly. So he takes that buckboard and down the road he goes, down to Dabb's Road. Goes home. Pulls up in the yard there and ties the horses up at the hitching post and goes in. He said, honey, I don't mean to bring up anything sad, but I need you to come out to the workshop. She goes out there and he got that thing covered up. They walk out there and she goes, just what is it? Would this be good enough? He pulled that blanket off of there. She was amazed. She goes, but won't it rot? He goes, no. I just talked to the mason in town and he's going to dip it in concrete for us. She goes, well, how are we going to get it loaded? He said, I got ropes and straps. I'll raise it up, and there was his back underneath of it. Why don't you go in and find you a nice dress, get your bonnet. By then I should have this loaded. We'll head into town. So she goes to the house and going to get cleaned up, washed up, so they can go to town. Well, he finally gets that thing raised up where he can just back underneath of it and lower it down inside the buckboard. Well, the wife sat there, she's still grieving, so ain't the husband. They take that long ride into town. They got there at the rock mason, concrete mason, and they unloaded it there, and the guy said, it'll be probably 10 days before it's ready to go. He said, anything you want etched in it? Well, the mom took a slate and wrote stuff down and left a slate, and he said, well, when I get her done, I'll give you her slate back. Because he was going to carve stuff in there. So they go down the street down there to the full-weight stop, and they stop there at the little store there, and they go in, get some sugar and honey, just some minor stuff. Well, they're on the way home, and the dad had got a lot of that pressure off by beating the hell out of that anvil and making that chair, and was feeling pretty good. So he looked at his wife and he took her hand. And he goes, I think this should do for little Slugger. She said, yeah, at least now he'll have a place to sit. He'll have his ball and bat and glove and his hat and his book so he can still learn. So it won't be like he won't have something to do. Keep him out of trouble. Because he wasn't never no trouble. He was just a little high-spirited. You know how little boys are. So it come the day when that thing was done. They went in and loaded it up, and all the townspeople followed them out to the cemetery out there on Dabb's Road. Well, they pulled in, they followed the stretch of tombstones there and come to his spot. And a bunch of those guys got together and they gently lifted that thing up, carried it over there, and set it down. And it's still there today. You can see it. However, you got to watch out. Because years later, there was a guy one night come down the road after a hot date. And he stopped there by the old cemetery. Going to pee there along the road by his truck. Yeah, he opened up the door and stand there between the seat and the door. Pee so nobody come along to see you. He was standing there peeing. All of a sudden, he felt a thump on his boot. Well, when he looked down, there was a baseball that come out of that cemetery, hit the side of the road, rolled right up against his boot. And he's looking around, looks up in the cemetery, and I'll be damned, there was little Slugger, standing up there by his chair. Hey, mister, throw that ball back. Care for a game of catch? That poor guy was so scared, he pissed on his door, didn't even put his thing away, jumped in the truck, and take off down the road like a madman. And there's a little Slugger, like, what the heck? So, time had passed. Well, you know how these young boys and girls are. They going down the road, and her dad told him that he better have her home by midnight, or he was going to yank the hide off of his ass. So, it's like 11:15. But that boy thinks that he's going to get him a few smooches in, so they was on their way home down Dad's Road, take that girl home. He's like, I got this plan just right. We could pull in there at the cemetery, neck a while, and still have her home, and I'll keep my hide intact. Well, that's a pretty good plan. So they pulled into the cemetery, and he killed the lights on an old 57 Chevy. Well, they was necking up a storm, and them windows was fogged up. There was I love you written in the fog on the windows. And all of a sudden, a noise come out of that darkness that wasn't those two. It was a ka-chunk. And that ball hit the door on that old Chevy. Well, that girl jumped. And the boys looked around. He's like, I don't know who the hell's out there, but this ain't the time to be messing around. I got my best girl here. You need to just go on. Next sound they heard was little Slugger standing outside the car door. Hey, mister, can I have my ball back? The girl screamed. The boy jumped up, and there was little Slugger peeking in the car window. But needless to say, that boy, he jumped up there in the front seat. He give that old car a turnover. He went squalling backwards, and there was little Slugger, still standing like this. He hit that road and damn near went off and ditched backwards. Put the old car in drive, and down the road he went. Well, I'm assuming that girl probably made it home early. Then there's another time, two boys been drinking, come down that road, and you know how drinking is. Decide they better pull over and sell a few Buicks right there. And I don't mean the car Buicks, I mean get out and puke. They don't want to puke in their truck. But they pull over, and one's in one ditch over there puking, and the other one's in the other ditch puking. And all of a sudden, they hear the sound of a bat crack. That ball was hit out of that cemetery right over the edge of the road, went under the truck, and rode up against the other boy's foot. But that boy's over there busy selling Buicks. And he stopped long enough, looked down, seen that baseball, and in between selling Buicks, he started bitching at his buddy about throwing a baseball at him. He said, I didn't throw shit. Somebody out there in that cemetery hit the frickin' ball. Well, in between selling Buicks, the other was like, you're so full of shit. Well, they started arguing. Well, out of the clear blue, there's a little slugger kind of glowing there at the edge of the cemetery. Hey guys, throw me that ball back. They both stopped selling Buicks real quick. And the one boy holds that ball up and he goes, yeah, you, throw me that ball. Well, they're in total shock. So the boy decided he better throw the ball because that's a little boy ghost. He throws the ball, and that little boy didn't miss a lick. He brought that glove up, caught that ball, and he goes, hey, thank you. You want to play catch? They jumped in that truck and hauled down the road. Well, that's been going on for years. People see Slugger out there hitting that ball. Sometimes he hit it out there in the road. But he never leaves the cemetery. He'd catch a car stop there and hit that ball and, hey, throw that ball back. Because his mom told him, when he was alive, stay out of the road. Well, over the years, lots of people seen that little boy. A lot of people seen that baseball come out in the road. Even old Ma Brown. This lady, I swear to God, she never drove on her side of the road. Her side of the road was the middle and both sides, according to which way she's leaning that day. If you was walking along the edge of the road and you seen her coming, you would probably jump the ditch, jump over the fence and stand in the field, and you might be safe. She come bopping down the road one night after church. Wednesday night church. Why, she was proud of that old car. She come bopping after church, and she was feeling the Holy Spirit. Bopping down to there, and she turned left to turn onto Dabbs Road. But she coming real easy because that was a gravel road. She didn't want dust all over it. How a snail could have outran her. She's bopping along down to there, and she come right about the edge of that cemetery, and a ball come out of the cemetery, smacked the back window, and the ball landed in the back seat. Well, she swerved, went down the edge of the ditch, come back out of the ditch, locked the brakes up, and she ain't sure what happened. Well, she's wondering, was it an owl? Was it a bird? Or was it some young punks playing pranks on her? Well, she finally gathered her thoughts, and she opened that car door, and she looked, and sure enough, she was stopped right even with that chair up on the hill there in the cemetery. There sat little Slugger. Hey, ma'am, I'm sorry about the window. Can I have my ball back? Can you throw it back? Her hair went from slightly gray to silver in a matter of minutes. She jumped in that car, and poor little Slugger's wanting his ball. And she beats ass home. Put her in the driveway, and her husband comes and goes, my God, what happened to your hair? She goes, I just seen a ghost. damnedest thing, and that she's a church lady. She ain't gonna be cussing. She said, damnedest thing I ever seen. He either hit the ball or threw the ball, and it went through my back window. He said, I look over there, and there he is wanting his ball back. And her husband listened to it, and he's like, you sure you ain't had too much of the church wine? She goes, well, go look at the car. So she walks him out there, and he sees that back window shattered. And there's a hole in there about that big around. Well, he opens up the door and looks, and sure enough, there's an old baseball. He picks it up and looks it over, and he sniffs the ball. He's like, yep, it's a ball. She goes over to this little boy, standing by this, what looked like a chair. I wouldn't know if I throw the ball back, he was sorry. He goes, yeah, that's where little Sluggers buried. He died way back a long time ago. He said, well, let's put the car in the garage, and tomorrow I'll take it in and have the car looked at and see if we can get a new window. He said, but in the meantime, he thought put some tape and stuff, pick up the broken glass. But he said, I'll be back in a little bit. She goes, well, where are you going? He goes, well, it scared you bad enough when you seen little Slugger, didn't it? She goes, yeah, almost peed myself. He goes, well, I'm going to take his baseball back. She goes, to a ghost? He goes, do you want him down here? She was like, no, I don't think so. He said, I'll be back in a little bit. So he gets in his old flatbed Ford and fires that thing up and heads up Dabbs Road to that cemetery where that little boy's laid to rest. When he pulled in there and parked, it was a bright moonlit night that night. He parked there under one of the big giant maples there, and he rested on the seat and got that ball. Started walking across that cemetery up alongside the road up there to that chair. And there that little boy was, little Sluggers, sitting in that chair, his tombstone chair. And he's sitting there, he's got his arms crossed, and he's sitting there like this here. Well, the old man said, hey, Slugger, I got your baseball. He said, my wife said that you was sorry. And he said, I didn't want to scare her any more than she'd been scared, so I got your baseball right here, son. But that little boy jumped up out of that chair. He had a smile that went from ear to ear. He come a-running and grabbed that guy by the leg and gave him a hug. He said, thank you, sir. He said, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to be bored and have to read them damn books. He said, them books ain't no fun. Baseball's fun. The guy looked down and rubbed his little head, and he squatted down and he said, Slugger, is there anything I can do for you? Slugger goes, yeah, there is. Could you maybe tell my parents that I'd like to see them? But the guy didn't know what to do. Several years had passed. He said, well, I'll see what I can do. He goes, tell your wife that I'll be more careful next time. I just got to playing, and it's an accident. He said, I'll let her know. He goes, you gonna be all right, Slugger? Yeah, he said, I got my ball, got my bat, my glove. He said, once in a while I get some of these other people that get up and play pitch and catch with me. He said, but that's entertainment enough for me. He said, well, You be good and stay out of the road. I will, sir. The boy turned and he's happy as a lark. He got his ball back. That guy's watching him walk across that cemetery, and by the time he come to that chair, he just kind of faded into nothing. So the guy's kind of in a little bit of shock. He walks back to his old flatbed truck, opens the door. By the time he gets it open, he hears a voice from Little Slugger. "Thank you." The old man just kind of smiled and shook his head, got in the truck, headed home. Well, the local police department have been getting word all these years about the strange going-ons out there. So they decided one night they was going to send a patrol out there. They wanted to see if it's true or if it's just some drunk people making up stories to cover up some of their escapades. Well, they sent this wagon guy who had been on the force for about 10 years. And told him it'd be easy night, just go out there and set and see if you see any vandalism or any craziness. If you do, just give them a stern warning and send them on. Unless they give you too much trouble, then bring them in. But that guy goes out there, and he was big into baseball too. He backed that old squad car in there, and he shut her off, turned the lights off, put on the auxiliary, and sitting there listening to a ball game. Smoking a big old cigar. Had his foot out the window. Just relaxing, listening to the game. Well, he got his arm out the window, and he listened to the ball game. Commercials come on, he listened to those. He'd been there for a little while and hadn't seen nothing. He went to take a toke on that cigar, and it come across the radio that this guy had hit the ball plumb out of the stadium. That guy brought his arm in, taking another puppy a cigar, and when he went out to flip the ashes out, little boy got him by the arm. He said, "What inning are they in?" That poor cop damn near swallowed his cigar. Almost shit himself. He jumped up, hit his damn head on the top of the car. And he looked, and he goes, "Who are you?" Little boy goes, "They call me Slugger." He said, "I may look little and fat to you, but I can round those bases, and I can hit a baseball, and I can catch the best of the catchers." That poor cop, he started that car and took off. Little Slugger didn't know. He's left there kind of like, what the hell's wrong with him? Well, needless to say, that cop went in and took early retirement. Well, over the years, cops would go out there and drive by the old cemetery and go real slow, trying to look for Little Slugger out there. Periodically, they see him. Sometimes he's sitting there by the chair. Other times he's out there with his bat, getting ready to hit a ball that an imaginary pitcher's throwing to him. Sometimes that ball roll out in the road. So if you're ever down around Otterville, Illinois, at nighttime, out there on Dabbs Road, you watch. Little Slugger might be there playing by his chair. And if you just happen to stop and take a pee, or stop looking at cemetery, you might see that ball come rolling out in the road and hit you in the foot. If you do, at least be nice enough to pick that ball up and holler, "Slugger, throw it back into the cemetery. He'll catch it. So, if you're ever out and about that way, you gotta watch out for little Slugger. He don't never ever come out in the road. But I ain't saying his ball won't come out there. And if you're ever going past there, and you see a little glowing looking little boy with little fat cheeks, just holler at him and wave at him. Hello, Slugger. You might ask him what the score is. But then again, if you're scared of ghosts and scared of the dark, you may not want to go out there. Because Slugger does exist. He is the ghost boy, and his chair is out there, and you can see it right from the road there. So I just wanted to tell you another ghost story that's a true one. There'll be a picture in the heading of this here, with Slugger's little chair, and it's kind of blurry. I couldn't get it any better than that. But you can zoom in, you can see his little books and hat and ball glove and bat and ball. That was a chair that his dad made for him. Turned it into a tombstone. It is a very true story. And yes, people have seen Slugger. People's also seen his ball come flying out into the road. And if you think I'm kidding you, take a trip down Dabbs Road and you look for that chair. And you just sit there and you might be one of the lucky people that sees that baseball, and when you look up to throw it back, there's that little chubby Slugger asking for you to throw his ball back. Maybe ask you to play a game of catch. He don't realize he's gone. Deceased. And that's the way it is with some ghosts. Some ghosts get snatched out of life so fast, they don't realize they're dead. So my advice to you, you run across a ghost, don't say, hey, do you know you're dead? They may not know it. Might be a lot of trouble for you, cause you shit your drawers. So, don't ever approach a ghost like that. Say, hey, ain't you supposed to be dead? If they think they're alive, just let them keep thinking that. It'll keep you in good health, and you won't have to go home and wash your shorts. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's story, because it is true. And I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all have a good night. This is Henry saying good night. And good night to you, little Slugger, wherever you are. Y'all take care. Good night.